Hey everybody, this is Ray Harvey for Access Jitsu. Welcome to our video on protecting the integrity of your Access applications. Today I want to discuss how we can prevent our users from directly editing data in our tables, as well as how to prevent them from accidentally changing the design of our database objects, such as our forms, reports, queries, macros, and VBA code. So why is it important for us to protect the integrity of our application? Well, let's talk about our tables first. Often databases are the source of the data that we store in them, and often there are some rules that apply to how data can be stored and what types of data can be stored. We might have forms that specify or enforce relationships between different elements of data. If you allow your users direct access to the tables, then all of those business rules are bypassed. In addition to that, direct access to tables allows for accidental data changes to more easily occur. A cursor in a cell can very easily delete or change data in that cell. It's also easy for multiple rows to be deleted accidentally. And for the design of our database objects, you have probably spent considerable time designing your forms to, again, enforce some sort of business rules. You've probably spent considerable time getting the reports and the queries and the VBA and the macros, all that working together to do exactly what you want it to do. So again, for somebody less trained to be in the design of those objects, looking around, again, it's very easy for them to change the design of these elements and really throw a monkey wrench in how your application operates. So the first thing we want to talk about then is securing our backend database to prevent users from getting into the tables and, again, making changes to the table design and also making changes to data without going through your front end or your user interface. The easiest way we can do this is password protect our backend database. So I'm not going to describe in this video how to put a password on a backend database because I have already filmed a video that addresses this topic. This is the name of the video. I'll also put a link to this video in the description down below. Now, moving on to our front end. Again, we want to protect the design of all of our database objects that we'll have in our user interface, our forms, our reports, our queries, macros, and VBA. In addition to that, your front end also provides direct access to your tables, even if they're in a back end, right? Because you have linked tables in your front end, and those are shown in your navigation pane. We'll get to that in just a minute. Now, before you do any of the things we're going to discuss here, we want to make sure that you keep an unsecured copy of your front end for yourself, for you to do your development work in. Because if you do all these things, you can lock yourself out of the design features. So the way I do this is I keep a copy on my machine that I did my development work in. And then when I begin to secure it, I make a copy of that database, put it in a new folder, and then secure that copy, and then go and do my deployment. Now we're talking about removing design features from the Access interface. And the steps we follow to do this removes most of the Microsoft Office ribbon. Therefore, if you need to provide certain functionality to your users through the ribbon, you're going to need to build a custom ribbon. This allows you to put buttons and controls on the ribbon that provides the specific functionality that your users will need for your particular application. Again, I'm not going to go through that. That's a very complicated topic, and I have a video series that addresses how to build a custom ribbon. Again, here is the name. I'll also put a link to part 1 of that video series in the description down below. Once you've provided access to the features your customers need via a custom ribbon, then we can begin hiding other design elements of the Access user interface. First thing to hide would be the navigation pane. This hides the bar along the left side of your Access window that lists all of your database objects, your forms, your queries, your reports, and your code modules. So before we move to the next item on our list, we're going to take a look at how to do this in a live database. We're going to be working with this database today. I'm going to make a copy of it, and we're going to open that copy. And of course it has popped up on my other screen. There we go. So first we want to hide our navigation pane. Now, I am in version 2010. If you are in version 2013, it should look much the same. You'll have the same file tab that I have here. If you're in version 2007, you'll have the round office window up here. So click either one of those and go down here to Options at the bottom, and then click Current Database along the left. to hide the navigation pane, we just want to click that checkbox. The next thing we can do is we can turn off full menus. When we do this, we lose most of the items on the ribbon, and we will also lose access to that Access Options button we just clicked a minute ago. So over in our Access Options window, disallowing access to the full menus is this checkbox right here. The next item we can turn off is access to the default shortcut menus. The default shortcut menus give you things like when you right click on an object, you'll have a delete button, you'll have a properties. Back in our Access Options window, allow default shortcut menus is this checkbox. And the next item we want to turn off is access special keys. These are things like the F11 key showing the navigation pane. Alt F11 opens the code editor, our VBA code window. And control break, very important here, can stop the execution of any VBA that you have running at the time. In our Access Options window, that is up here closer to the top. Use access special keys. Alright, before we move on, let's take a look at what this does to our application when we click OK. Alright, we get a warning. Access tells us that we have to close and reopen our database for all these options to take effect. I'll click OK, close. Reopen the copy we modified. As you can see, we no longer have our navigation panel on the left, and we also only have three ribbon tabs now. I've got a tab here for Acrobat because I have the full version of Acrobat installed on my machine. When we go to our File tab, I get an error for this Acrobat tab, which really aggravates me. But most of the options here in the Backstage have been removed. However, I would like to point out, and this frightens me, I do not remember this in version 2007, but in version 2010, this link right here, Privacy Options, gets us back to all the options we were just looking at. So even though we've tried to lock our users out of this, we actually can't, because they still give us this link, that Privacy Options link. We can get back to the navigation pane, get back to the full menus, back to the special keys. So we're going to have to go one step further if we really truly want to keep our users out of making design changes to our database. To truly keep your users out of the design features of Access, in version 2010 you're going to need to make an executable only version of your database. In other words, make an ACCDE version of the database. What this does, it removes all the source code from your front-end database, and it hides completely all the design features. Now, there will be some places where it looks like you can get to the design features of the database, but they're actually disabled once you try to use them. One side benefit of making an ACCDE version of your front-end database is it's also smaller because it lacks all that source code. Okay, so let's make an executable-only version of our database. So head back over to Explorer, and I want to make an executable-only version of this copy. So under the File tab, and at the bottom we have the Save and Publish button. Over here on the right is the Make ACCDE button, and we click Save As. It's going to put us in the same folder we're already in. Notice it's got the same file name at the front, and it's changed the ending, ACCDE. Click Save, close that, and now let's open the ACCDE version. We get a little security warning here telling us there's code. Okay, let's take a quick look at our access options so we can see what we have available to us in a moment. I've got the navigation pane displaying, and both of the menus, full menus and shortcut menus, are accessible right now. So let's take a look at the things we can do right now. We can right click on an existing table in the navigation pane, and we can delete it. We can also change the design of the table, which I don't like a whole lot. We can save that change, and there you go. Notice if we right click on a form, that the design view button as well as the delete button are both disabled, so we can't change the design of our forms or our reports. Over on the Create tab, we can still create a query, and we can still create a new table. On the External tab, we can still import and export data. Now notice here in the Database Tools tab that we have an option here to get to the code, and we can see these items. But notice when I double click on one and try to show the code behind it, we get a message saying the project is unviewable. So what I then would recommend, if it's important to you to keep users out of all the design features of your database, that you make an ACCDE file and then go down here to options and disable as much of these things as we can. The navigation pane, the full menus, and the shortcut menus. The last thing I'd like to discuss is the shift key. If you press and hold the shift key while you're opening an Access application, it will prevent your startup code from running. It will prevent your auto-exec macro from executing. It will also prevent your startup form from opening. If that code running is important to you, and we want to prevent your users from preventing it from running, and we do that by messing with the allow bypass key property of the database. I am making a separate video to address this topic. It'll be in our next video. So that's it for this video. In this video we discussed ways we can keep our users from directly editing our data tables, as well as from modifying the design of our forms and reports, queries, and our VBA code. Now, normally I provide a link to the code listing of this video in the description down below this video. However, there's no code today, but I will provide links to the videos I mentioned in the description down below. I hope you got something out of this video. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.